Okay, I'm going to try to speak slowly and succinctly. I tend to sometimes slur my words when I'm talking because I'm trying to think while doing this. Okay, I bought two Ender Creality 5 printers. Those printers will print up to, I think this thing here is over 17 inches tall. I think that Creality Ender 5 will print up to 14 inches tall. You can see where I had to do a dividing line right here on this project I'm working on. Okay, so I want to explain, I don't use CAD, but I wanted to be able to make, well, this glove box for my Fiero. Let me get this right here and this right here, and you can see there's the back of this. This is made out of PLA, which is not usable in a car. And I still have to do some sanding and stuff, and then then clear that part out there so that it will close. But I have everything to do that. I just haven't got to that yet, and I still have to do the ends on it. But you can see that's the lid. I also was able to take this and add this to it. So, I needed, basically, my wife wanted to take and, well, I'll grab that and show you what this is. Okay, so, I'm going to the kitchen here. My wife wants a place to put all her coffee stuff for her Keurig. And I made these shelves right here, and while I was printing, let me see, get the right light here, you can see, well, it moved. There you go, you can see the line. It somehow or another, I think something snagged and the plate moved, and so these were a little off center. I caught it pretty quick, and these are still strong enough to use, but yeah, the lip wasn't very good on them, so I decided to try something online. I went to Maker's World, and I downloaded these. Well, he said they were 6 inches across. Well, it wasn't. It's on outside the OD was 6 inches. You know, the ID was too small. So I said, well, I'll just make my own. Now this is EVA foam. I think it's also called Silly Winks. Silly Winks. Hobby Lobby used to sell it, and maybe they still do. But this is now, I will be replacing those with this, so that it has a lip on it, and if my wife goes to pull her coffee out of here, it doesn't just slide out. So, but you can still drop it in there just fine. So how do I go from this to that? Let me set this. This is another one I printed, another one I printed. So here is that shelf. This is made out of PETG. That is PLA. This one's PETG. You can see it's much shinier. You print at a higher temperature. But I needed to make that shelf. So I don't use CAD. So I got thinking, well, if I can get a handheld 3D scanner, which is what I did. I bought a 3D scanner. So, and let me get all this out of the way, because that's what I basically did with that other one. Grab this. Where's it at? Oh yeah. Here's this shelf in there, but this one's made out of cardboard, and you can see it's kind of rough, but yeah, and it has to be white or the hand scanners won't pick it up. But again, you can see here, you can really see where it misprinted a line, and this is really rough. That's because this is really rough. So I'm like, well, I had run out of EVA foam, and that's all this stuff is EVA foam. You can order off Amazon, and also heat. You can mold it to anything. You can get it hot, and it becomes very moldable. And once it cools, it stays in that whatever the form is. I was using that when I was making my Iron Man helmets and stuff. It works really, really well. You just heat it up and mold it around anything. Okay, so, but let me get this stuff out of the way. All right. This is also PLA here. It was white, and I just painted it with a black marker and gold, black, gold, and copper. So turned out pretty cool. And then also, I said, dragon's egg, get on screws. So it'll unscrew. And of course, the dragon. If you get a printer, you have to do the dragon and the egg. That just seems to be what people like to do. So, and it is posable to a point. And of course, then the benchy. Now, what the benchy is for, what these are for, is basically to test your printer to see how well you have it set. Is it stringing everywhere? Is there a bunch of filament sticking out? How also bridging, and it's easier to tell on this one because it's bigger. How well did your printer go across this way, because it has to go across and bridge, and then it has to do the hole, and it has to do a small hole there, and then build up a box there, and then is there a bunch of filaments stringing across it? Is it clean? Are the lines clean? So that's what the benchy is for. So this one here is made out of basically it's PLA, but it's like really shiny. So, but again, PLA, that was white. So it's there to test your printer. So once you can test these, run it at a high speed, you'll know your printer is set and ready to go. All right, so how did I get this here? So I wanted that. I made it out of white EVA foam, which is really easy to cut. You see it's very, very flexible. It's soft. If you cover this stuff with Elmer's glue, it turns like wood. It'll sound like wood when you tap it. So I wanted to be able to scan that and print it. So I bought the Creality hand scanner. So you have to excuse the mess back there. We got cats, and they love cardboard boxes and their donut over there. But I wanted to be able to take and hand scan this because I don't use a CAD. I need to figure out I need to learn CAD, but I don't know how to use CAD. So I figured, well, if I can scan it, I can do that. That's how I did my glove box. I built it out of EVA foam. And let me see here. I'm going to delete that. Delete. I'm going to do a new scan. Okay. I'm going to tell it to start scanning. So, and I'm probably too close, but you can see where it turned green. Okay. I bought the Lazy Susan here at the dollar store. And I found out that if you leave it on top of something like red cups, it seems to work better than sitting on top of a black sheet, which I tried a black sheet and that didn't work. At this point, I'm going to tell it to start. So counting down, and you see it's kind of red. That's the scanning it right now. So now I can just start turning this. As I turn it, hopefully I'm probably getting too far. I'm getting too close. Let me move that back a little bit. It'll tell you if you are too close or move farther away. So we'll just keep going around, 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 around. And usually it'd be in your hand, so you'd be able to pick it up, lower it down, lower, so we can get the bottom of it. So I'm going to come back on around here. I usually wouldn't go this fast, but I've already done this, so you can see where it turns green. So let's just say, let's see if I can screen, and you can see what it's doing. Let me come back around that again. Now, what I learned is, what you really want to do is you want to watch that. You see where I'm not in the center, but that kind of shows you what it is actually scanning. So, and it didn't do, I had to pick it up to get the top of the, which I'm going to do here in a second. Let's come on around. Now, sometimes, if it doesn't have enough to, like, objects to look at, like different angles, it will get lost and it will take off running and you have to start all over again. So let's see, we got that. I'm going to pick the scanner up now. Usually have this in my hand anyway, and I'm going to take it. Basically, I'm doing this now. I got it in my hand. I'm trying to get above this. Alright, so bring it back down now. I don't know how much that is, but I'm going to leave it at that. I'm going to complete the scan. I'm going to tell it OK. Now it's going to go through and do a fusion on it. And here's where your laptop comes in. So we'll let that finish fusing. So we got that. You can see as it's point cloud fusing. I already have that shelf in here. So grab my mouse. I'll show you how easy this is right here. I need to get that scan onto my laptop, and it's all done wirelessly. So once it finishes scanning, and it's at 62%, probably wish I may just go ahead and pause this until it is done doing everything. Okay, so it is done doing all the point collectors, and now I have to tell to I want it to mesh. Here's where actually we'll see colors. So again, I'm gonna pause this recording until it's done, because that last one took about 4 minutes for it to finish doing the meshing process. Coloring tends to go a little bit quicker, and then you'll be able to see the red cups, and I'll show you what we do from that point. All right, I'm gonna pause this. Okay, it is now done doing that part. Now it wants to go to color mapping. I'm almost done. So once it gets the color mapping done, you'll be able to see the red cups, and then at that point we can transfer that print to the computer. So I'm going to pause it again while that finishes doing the color mapping. Okay, so now it is all done with, let me expand this. There is what it's got printed. Actually, it didn't do too bad. Underneath, how did I get underneath that? Not bad. So now, did a good job. It didn't take very long at all. So, but now when I go to move this, I'm going to tell it's done. And I want to share this with my computer. So I need to go over here. Let me start. I'm real close. I'm going to tell it to share. And I'm going to open up on the laptop. Let me see if I can get this. With the laptop, I'm going to open import from phone. You'll see it comes up with that. I need to now come to my cell phone, export to computer. So I'm going to touch the export to computer, and then it will, I want to scan for the QR code. Right there, touch scan QR code. And then there it goes. It is now, project is exporting, and my computer is now downloading it. So now, I'm pretty much done with this. So, once it finishes receiving the project, import failed. It figures. So let's try it again. I'm gonna go here. I don't know what it's doing. Hold on a second. Until okay. All right, let's try that again. I want to. Now, I've already actually done that. It's right there. So I'm going to show you how to edit this in this part here before we go to Mesh Mixer. So I don't know what's packaging. Okay. Now I see. Come on, go back out of here. Share it. Okay. I want to again export to computer. I'm going to come up here to this. I'm going to open. Import from phone. Scan QR code again, and we'll see if it works this time. Now it says it's exporting to the laptop. Let's see if it works this time. Is it going to work? It did, but I'm just kind of curious because I did a really fast scan. Importing. There it is. Okay, so it just went from there. That was on my computer. So I'm going to set this. I don't need a hand scanner anymore. I set that off to the side. Power that off. Come on, turn off. There we go. All right, so now I've got this. You can see, let me move this around. Now I've got all this stuff here I need to get rid of. So here's where we're using this for. And you can see as I turn it, it'll flip. It'll go around, around, around. Okay, let's get it flat. I'll get it. Turn it the other way now. And go back. So, all right. So I need to come up here to where it says texture. This is this part. Now I need to come to mesh. And now is when I can get rid of all this stuff I don't want. And I can either use lasso effect or I can use this, which is a box. Now I'm going to try to do this where you can see. I'm going to hold the shift key down. If I can do it at the same time and hold that. And now I can actually do this. And you can see where it turned orange. And then I can come up here to the delete that part. So I can come up here to, again, hold the shift key down. All that, I can delete it. I need to come up here and want to, if I get it pretty level, I can take a whole lot of that off. So, but that's how you basically, I'm going to shift again. I want to find the corner here and I'll come right across there. And it's still not quite level. That's what I wish they had a better way to do that. Just keep moving it around. Try it again, hit the shift key, hold that down, and delete. You can see where there's still this stuff in there. So now from this point here, now I've got everything cut out that I don't want anymore. So now I want to take basically to export. Let me come up here where you can see what I'm doing. Export this model, and let me cancel it. So and you can see where there's this and different things up here. I'm clicking on. I'm looking at that. This is, oh, where's that? Where'd you go? Oh, I forgot to save it. Is why. Let me do one big cut here, and I'll move it. Let's do a shift, and then we'll just delete all that stuff. I forgot to save it. Let's see here. Hold the shift down again. Delete that. Now, if I save this, it's going to updating. Now I can export this thing, and I'm going to name it test. Just test. If you can see what I did there, where it popped up. You don't need to keep the where it'll have a big long name right there. You don't need that. Okay, I can tell that's a save. All right, so now I've got that. There's my test right there. It popped up. Now let me close this out, and I'm gonna close out that. Okay, we'll get rid of that. Now I need to come to Mesh Mixer, which is this one right here. I've already opened it up. I'm gonna go ahead and go through. Here's Mesh Mixer. I'm just go to File, Open, and then for Test. Sometimes it's a pain in the ass. Let's see where we're at here. It's in 3D print. And I forgot that I can just drag and drop. I shouldn't have closed that out. Let me open up Creality scan. Open that back up again. Later. I think that's what I just did. Is this my test? Yes. So, I shrink that back down again. Sometimes the pain getting this stuff to test is right there. All right. I don't know why it's not popping up. Anyway, okay, close the application. Here's what I end up with once I go to Mesh Mixer and close this out. And you can see there's the box. Once I went through, and I come over here to the side, and I can, once I get it, you can brushes. But the first thing I did was come here to make solid. And that basically, once I got everything on, it made it solid. Then I come back to the brushes, and you can pick, let's see what the brushes, and you can actually go through all these, and I can't see what I'm doing. Brushes, get up there. And I come down to robust smooth, and I was able to smooth, you see where that is, and smooth all that down. You gotta watch it get on the edges because it'll want to take and mess up. I did learn the hard way. Don't touch the corner inside here, otherwise it's going to be, the print's not going to be as nice on the corners. Once you get it, you can change the strength. You don't want the strength very big, because if I do this, with the strength all up here, it'll literally go completely through the if I can get where you can see both through it. It'll actually penetrate through the other side too and cause warping. So you want the strength pretty low. I just want to do the surface, so I'll move the strength all the way down there. You can also change your size, where I don't want it being massive, and the depth also, I don't want it very deep. And you can kind of make adjustments, and you can actually get a pretty decent look at that. Once you're done with this thing here, you're going to take and save the file where you want to, and then here's where you actually go where you can print it. Alright, so let's say you get all done and you saved it and you're ready to go. Okay, I don't want to save any changes I make, because I like that like it is. Now, here's where you go from, I went from Creality Scan to Mesh Mixer, do all the dust filling in, things like that. Now I'm coming up to Orca Slicer. So, I think I've already got that open. We don't. So, make that large. And you can see there are my shelves right there. I actually just copied it. You can actually come to here, click on it, and clone it. And you can make it as many as you want. It'll ask you how many you want. So I wanted, I said I want 3. I want 2 more. So they gave me, those. Okay. So once you've got that set, you can actually come through here and you can do more things. You can decide if you want to rotate that. So if I want to rotate it, I want to face the other direction. I want to face it like that. Problem is when you actually face it to where it's like this, it's going to probably want supports like tree. So by doing it the other way, and it'll snap it down, or I can hit this up here, and it'll actually make it lay flat. Now it's laying flat onto the board itself. So what I'm supposed to do, I'm going to go to here and put it right back down, which is the best way to do that because then it doesn't need to build any kind of trees or supports. Okay, so there's that. All right. Now once I've got everything how I want it, I've got the map, everything ready to go. Now I need to I want to from prepare, which is what it pops up with. I'm preparing it now. I want to do a preview. And when I do a preview, you will see this stuff pop up. As it generates the layers, it's going through all the layers it needs to build up. Is there supports? Is there things going to hit each other? So, are you forgetting something? Is there something too low on the plate where it's actually going to ram the printer nozzle into the deck plate? So let that finish printing out. And if it's good, you will not see any errors. And okay, let me come up here. Now if you can see, there is this right here. Here is that. And there's let me lay that out flat. We'll run that that way. And here's this right. You can see that right there. Is that right there. That is that first print. And actually, if I can make that, I'll expand it out. Yeah, there we go. And you can see that, and you can see that. That is my little shelf right there. So, if you want to, you can pull down on this right here, and you can see the, as it lowers itself, you can see as it goes up, now it's solid, and you can see right there where that is actually where it's hollow. It's printing crisscross, and it'll start filling it in, then it's building up the walls. Flat, and now you can see the wall as it's building up, so you can see what your print looks like. All right, and it will give you errors if there's something wrong. So if I were to take and do this, let me do this and go back here to prepare. I'm going to run this thing intentionally, overlap it, watch what happens when you can see where it says warning, and it's telling you there's 2 objects that are colliding, and if I do this, it'll take that away. It also tell you if it'll give you a warning, and then you can also look it up on. That's what I did. Well, okay, it's giving me this warning. What do I need to do? And you come in here with your quality and your strength, and I basically with this, if they are hollow, but instead of being 1 or 2 walls thick, it's 4. I built 4 wall thick. And you can see right there where it says wall loops 4. So it's a little thicker wall because I'm going to drill holes and mount it to a board. And then top shell layers, you just kind of figure out, and you can see where the print pattern, infill, density. So and you'll basically kind of figure out what you need to do, and I don't worry so much about the speed. But support is something you'll be dealing with. So in some cases, you'll need to enable, let me roll this up, enable trees. I recommend using tree. I've done normal, and I didn't normal. Changed that, and I tore the part up about tore it up trying to get it out of there. So if I do tree auto, I come down here. Oh, I'd have to select, like if I did that, select, come here to tree auto. Don't do normal. Just leave it at tree. This doesn't need trees on it for support. So, all right, and then this is your different stuff. So you basically will learn what all this stuff does. In some cases, it will save your settings, and in some cases, it will not. So you will have to change that. But yeah, so there's what I printed off. Was these. That's my lid. I use a 3D scanner. I use white PLA foam. And just practice. That's all I can say is when you do this stuff, you just have to practice on how to set up your printer, level of bed, that kind of stuff. The Ender 5, you have to do it manually. You have to go through with a piece of paper, check the nozzle height, set your Z axis, which is your home, or Z is your height. But you got to find the home and Z, and yeah, you'll figure it out as you go along. You will destroy a few tips on your nozzle by the time you figure out how to set the depth, the height. So, but you will figure this stuff out. It's not bad. If I'm 61 years old, if I can figure it out, you can figure it out. So, okay, good luck with your printing experience. Again, I used the Creality Ender 5 to print this stuff. Well, this actually is a Creality Ender Max. Is what I'm printing this stuff with, which is a much bigger print bed. And you actually will choose right here what type of printer you're using. Let me pull this forward. What type of ender? You'll decide, okay, PETG, PLA, ASA, so you have to set those. You can basically put every type of filament in that setting right there. So Orca Slicer is actually pretty cool. But once you are done, like I said, you go to your preview. It's the export G file that you can see where it's doing G code. Once you get that, I should have said that before, I almost forgot to. In order to print this, printers come with either a SIM card or a flash drive or whatever. Okay, so now it's done. I need to export this G code. That's what it wants. Once I export the G code, I can then decide I don't have anything here to save it.